Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst toy repairs on Earth is the most powerful hero ever, Toy Polloi. No Legos were harmed in the making of this video.
Hello and welcome to another video from Toy Polloi, and in today's video I'm going to be taking you along with me as I learn how to repair a new toy, and the toy is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now on the channel I have done a few little repairs on the various Ninja Turtles figures, but I've never really bothered to work on the main characters themselves, and they seem to have some pretty common issues like broken legs and broken arms. But I've yet to actually work out how to fix them or work out how they are constructed. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be learning how to fix a toy that I've never worked on before. So let's get on with the project. We'll see what needs repairing and we'll try and work out some ways to fix them. So here you can see I have a whole pile of broken Ninja Turtles, and that really is the first thing I do when I'm trying to learn to repair a new toy. I collect as many broken ones of that toy line as I possibly can, and with Ninja Turtles the main characters are pretty easy to find and they are often broken. You can see here this guy is missing an arm, this guy's legs are broken, we've got a few others with snapped off arms, and yeah, just generally common issues. And once I've picked up enough of those sort of broken ones, I can then start taking them apart and trying to work out how best to repair them. And really that is the way I fix all sorts of toys. Try and find a few broken ones so that I can take them apart, and it doesn't matter if I break them a bit more along the way. What I'm trying to do is to see how they are constructed and how I can go about repairing those very common issues. So as you can see, this is a pile of broken Ninja Turtles. Let's see what the common issues are. As I said, it's going to be arms and legs, and you can see from here which ones I've got the most of. So we've got a few with missing arms. This seems to be a very common problem. Basically the arms look like they plug in, and I'm guessing kids just sort of unplug them and then can't get them back in place. So you find a lot with them missing like that. I have one where I can see it's actually snapped off, and again this is an issue I've seen sort of fairly commonly when I've looked at eBay auctions. So this is one that I do really want to work out how to repair, and I think Lego might be the best way of doing that. Unfortunately though, I don't have a spare arm for that one, so I'm going to have to pull an arm off another one. You can see I've got this one here, which the arms are not quite the same, but they are close enough, and it looks like the construction will be pretty similar. So I'll probably use that one as a donor figure to try and work out how to repair the arms on that guy there. We have a chap over here somewhere, this one, who has broken legs, and that again seems to be a very common issue. It looks like the plastic inside, this white plastic, is possibly a bit more nylon-y and it snaps, although this one I can see a poster's broken. So that is another issue I want to try and sort of work out how to fix. And with that, it might be that I have to try and split one of these figures apart to see what the construction is like, so that I can actually work out how we can make some new attachments inside. Other issues on these are sort of paint chips and paint wear. I can see there's bits of the back of this head missing. So it might be nice to try and work out if we can actually boil and pop these limbs. It looks like they're held on, at least the head and the arms, like Star Wars figures. So there's a post inside, and this plastic feels like if you warmed it up in just boiled water, you may be able to get those arms off, or maybe that is the issue and that's why you see them broken like this. So yeah, let's start the process, and I think the first thing to do is to look at the arms, as that seems to be the most common issue. We're going to start by just trying to swap the forearms on this Donatello figure. You can see that both of the forearms are missing. I don't have any spare forearms, but I do have this sewer swimming Donatello. It looks like the arms are constructed in the same way. So first thing to do is just to try and pull these out of the socket and see what happens. It feels on this like the plastic of the upper arm is a sort of harder plastic, and the forearms are slightly softer, more rubbery plastic. So I probably can just pull these out. It may be, you know, heating them up in hot water would help, but let's just try pulling one of these out and see what happens. Oh yeah, I can see that is actually just going to come out. That's pretty straightforward, and hopefully it will just be a case of popping that back in. But I think for that we're definitely going to have to get some just boiled water to warm that plastic up so that we can then pop it in. It's not going to be straightforward just to push that in. I don't think, yeah, that's definitely doesn't want to go in. So let's boil the kettle and see if we can pop that arm back on. In the meantime, I will remove this arm as well, because we'll try and swap both of them, see how easy that is. So here's some just boiled water. Let's put the forearms in, let them warm up, and see if we can put them back on Donatello. These have now been in for about 30 seconds. That should be plenty of time for the plastic to soften. Let's take that out, see how it feels. Definitely a lot softer. So let's see if we can push this back into the socket. yeah, I can see that actually being pretty difficult. It's a very tight socket, so maybe a screwdriver will help, and see if we can just push that in with a bit more sort of force. Yeah, there we go. You just need a screwdriver just to be able to sort of push the end of it in, but you can see that arm is now back on. So let's do the other arm and get him all complete again. And there we go, that's him back together. If you've ever dealt with Star Wars figures and boiling and popping limbs off those, it's exactly the same process. You're basically heating the plastic up so that it's soft enough that you can pull it out of the socket. And in this instance, we're just heating it up so that we can pop it back in again. And a screwdriver is key to that because it just means that you get a little bit of extra force. But there we go, those are the limbs back on. So let's now look at some of the broken arms and see if we can fix those. The next issue I can see is if the arm was actually snapped off and you wanted to sort of boil and pop a new arm onto it, you can see we've got the end of the peg left in the hole, which means that you can't just push a new arm in. We need to remove that little sort of broken bit of peg, and that's going to be fairly awkward. My plan is basically I'm going to drill a hole into it. I have a drill bit here in my little drill, which is a 2mm diameter drill. I've already worked out that the posts are about 3.5mm in diameter. So the idea is I'm going to drill into that, and then I'm going to use something like this, which is just a screw on a hook. I can screw that in, and I'm hoping that I can sort of wiggle the remains of the post out. I don't really want to sort of drill all of the hole out because there's obviously a key piece in there, which is the sort of slight bulge at the bottom, which is what holds the hands in. So I'm hoping I can just remove the post just by drilling out the core of it, and it may be that we need to stick this into just boiled water to soften the plastic once we've drilled the hole, and then we should be able to wiggle it out. So let's drill into this and see what happens. I'm hoping that this will work. I've tried this sort of technique on other toys and it has worked before, so this is going to be a first on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And there we go, it's as simple as that. That worked really nicely. So it's an easy way of getting out a broken post. We've now got an empty hole there, so I could easily boil and pop another arm into that. Now that we've got that arm hole cleared out, how do we go about reattaching the broken arm if we've got one? As you can see here, this is an arm with that post snapped off. Normally I would go to my Lego pot because Lego is absolutely fantastic at fixing toys, but unfortunately the hole diameter is about 4mm and Lego pieces are about 3mm, so there is no Lego piece that will fit. So what I'm going to do instead is use a piece of styrene rod, and this is some 4mm diameter styrene rod, and I think that will just fit in pretty perfectly, which as you can see it does. So now what we've got to do is drill a 4mm hole into this broken arm. So I'm going to start by drilling a little pilot hole of about 2mm, and I'm going to work up to 4mm. I don't want to go in particularly deep, maybe about 5mm deep. We can then cut off a piece of that styrene, glue it in place, and that will be what we use to reattach it to the rest of the body. I think that should work really nicely. Lego though is always my sort of first port of call when it comes to fixing toys, but in this instance sadly it's not going to work, and so styrene is the sort of next best option. So let's get drilling some holes. Now that I've got that hole drilled, I'm just going to glue in a piece of this 4mm styrene rod, just a bit of super glue into the hole there. Should be plenty to hold this in place. It's not going to be a huge amount of sort of force put on this, so a little bit of super glue onto there. We'll glue it in, let that dry, and then we can trim off the rest of the styrene rod down to about, well, I'm going to say 6 or 7 millimeters long, and we'll test fit it and see if it actually works. That's now had plenty of time to set and it feels pretty firmly in, so let's trim off a bit of this styrene rod. I'm going to say about that long. We may need to make it a little bit shorter. Let's try that and see if it fits. Yeah, there we go. I know it's the wrong hand, but you can see the principle of it. So there we go. Yeah, that's a pretty good fix. And I'm sure people will say, well, how do I know how to do this? I've fixed many other toys that have similar issues. So I'm just sort of using my sort of prior knowledge as to what I know works fixing other toys, and sort of putting it onto these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So although I've never actually fixed this issue on this toy before, I know the principle of what needs to be done. And there we go. That is that arm fix. So I think that's all the issues that I can see with the arms. Let's move on to the legs. So here we have a figure with the legs broken. They should be firmly attached like this one, and it looks to me like the sort of fixing post inside has snapped. I can see there's a piece of nylon plastic, the whiter plastic there, and I can see one end of it is snapped, and it looks to me like the rest of the sort of rear end of the post is missing as well. So to fix that, I think we might have to try and open this figure, but let's first up just remove his legs, see what the real problem is. So let's take that off. Oh, okay, we can then take that leg out. Yeah, and I can see what's happened is there's a bit of a post missing at the back there, that sort of cross-shaped post. And I'm guessing that fits into the front there. And yeah, that's all snapped off. So I can see a way that we can repair that if we can get that apart. But what should it look like originally? Let's take the legs off this one. I can do the same. They should just pull off. I'll pull both of these legs off, just then we can clearly see what's going on. Oh, okay, yeah, so there is a post at the back which is completely missing on this one. I'm not sure if that's a sort of common issue, but possibly can be. So, yeah, that piece of nylon needs to attach onto the front somehow. Okay, right, well, the thing to do now is to try and split this figure apart. And because we've got easy access like this, I have a feeling it's going to be quite easy to do. I can see there's a couple of posts at the top and a little bit of glue around the edge. So I'm just going to get a pair of pliers. I'll put that in the leg hole like that. I'll just open them up and hopefully, oh yeah, there we go. You can hear it cracking apart. And I'm hoping that by doing that, we can split this figure apart and not break any of the plastic. That might be the key issue, that we break plastic. Oh no, actually, that is coming apart incredibly easily. That's much easier than I thought. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So what we need to do now is break the top piece there. Maybe if I can get these arms out. How big are the posts on the arms? Not huge, actually. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to boil the kettle again, because now that we've got that open a bit, I reckon if we warm the plastic up on the arms, we should be able to take those arms out and then get to the top there and just split that a little bit with a knife and split the whole of this body apart. It's coming apart fairly easily. It doesn't look like it's broken anything. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. I'm very happy with how that has sort of come apart so far. So yeah, let's boil the kettle again, see if we can get those arms out, and that might make it even easier to get the top part of this body apart. Yeah. Okay, off camera, it actually just fell apart. I put the pliers in again just to pop them slightly further apart, and it didn't need the hot water to take the arms off. The top piece just sort of split open. So you can now see we've got all of this body split open, and it's a pretty neat split as well. There's a little stress mark there, but overall it's not too bad. And now we can see inside and see what the issue is. So if I take those two pieces apart again, you can see what's happened is there is a piece of nylon that goes from the top down to the bottom, and that has split there. It's also got a post at the back that is broken off and missing, and then this piece again would have fitted onto the front there. So it's got multiple fixings all the way down, and it's sort of failed in a few places. So I'm trying to work out how I can fix that best and easiest. If that back post was there, we could probably just sort of drill into it and insert a piece of Lego, but because that post is missing, I think I'm going to go for an even simpler option and actually just screw this whole piece onto the front there. I think that might work, so let's give that a go. But it might be that this is not a common way for this piece to break, and there might have been a sort of easier way to do it. But let's fix the one we've got here and see if we can get him back together. I've had a quick look in my toolbox and I found a screw that I think is going to be ideal for fixing these legs back on. My plan is just to push that bit of broken plastic out. I'm assuming it will just push out, so let's give that a go. I can't believe it's stuck in place. Nope, there we go. So that is now pushed out, and I think that is going to fit in pretty well. It's a little bit on the large side, so I might drill that hole out just a little bit more. And we need to drill a hole into the front section of this figure so that we can then screw that onto there, and I'm hoping that will fix them on fairly firmly, at least for sort of display purposes. This one certainly has been well played with and has a few breaks inside, so it's never going to be perfect, but yeah, I think that will work. So let's get some holes drilled and see if we can screw that in place. Those legs feel really firmly held on. Just that one screw is going to be enough to hold it in place. The original fixing obviously had something attaching it to the back of the body as well, and this nylon rod going up to the top. Nylon doesn't glue particularly well, so I'm not even going to try and glue that, but I think we can put this figure back together and he will look pretty reasonable. To glue him back together, probably a bit of plastic weld just around the edge will do, or a bit of super glue. In this instance, I'm not going to bother gluing it because this is just me testing out ideas, testing out ways to fix things. I just want to check that everything fits back together and the figure looks good. And in future, if I need to do this repair, I know exactly what to do. And yeah, you can see those legs are now pretty well held in place. They do have a little bit of a sideways wiggle to them, and that is because that bar is broken vertically. It may be I could actually screw that screw in a little bit tighter and that would stop that, but overall I'm pretty happy with how that has fixed. Those legs are back on and this figure can now stand up again. In my bag of Ninja Turtles, I also have a few of these wind-up ones, and I've got a couple that do actually work. If I turn the little wind-up handle here, you can see the arm goes round on that one, and on this one, if I press the button on the side, we can hear the mechanism working. But I have this rock and roll Michelangelo, which doesn't work. If I turn the handle, you can hear that the motor works, but I think this arm is supposed to do something, and it just doesn't do anything at all. So I don't expect to be able to fix this one, but while we're on this sort of learning curve of fixing Ninja Turtles, let's break this one open as well and see if we can see what's going on and maybe have a go at fixing it. As I say, I don't know if I can fix it, but it's nice to learn, and it might give me some ideas for future repairs if I get more of these in. So yeah, let's get this one apart as well and see what it looks like. That was incredibly easy. Okay, I can immediately see what is wrong with this, and I'm going to say at the moment it's not fixable. There's supposed to be a gear in there. There's a metal bar that goes up the arm, and at the top of it there's this little nylon gear which has a split. That's a very common problem with these sorts of gears. I've seen this break on many other toys, so that's what the gear should look like. And you can see it's split in two. So that is why the arm part doesn't work, and it's not something I'm going to be able to fix today, but it's still useful to take a look at these things because in future I may work out a fix for it. Now that I know what the problem is, yeah, I can certainly think about it in future. But I think that will be it for this figure for today.
T-O-Y-D-E-S-T-R-O-I. That is incorrect. Try again.
So there we go, that is it for this video. That is how I go about learning how to fix toys, especially toy lines that I've never worked on before. I just collect a whole bag of broken ones and see what I can do with them. And as you've seen in this video, I've been able to work out how to repair the arms. There's a few different issues with those. I've also been able to work out how to repair the legs, which looks like that's going to be a very common problem, and I can see there being variations of that as well. So I'm going to look out for a few more broken turtles just to see if I can work out some other ways to repair it. But for now, I'm really happy because I have learned learned a whole load about a toy line that I didn't know anything about, and now I know if I get any more in future, I know how to fix them, and that's the good thing about doing something like this. I have learnt some new skills and some new ways of repairing old toys. So hopefully this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you've really enjoyed it and want to help me out here at Toy Polloi, then why not think about becoming a patron of the channel. You get early access to all of my You get early access to all of my restoration videos, plus access to an exclusive video series called On the Cutting Mat, where you'll see projects and restorations that you won't see anywhere else. So have a think about that, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.